So I'm gonna bring our first guest onto the show, guys. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Martin Fortune, an old friend of mine. We've known each other for a good few years, and he's an absolutely awesome guy, a gentleman. He's moved to Australia 3 years ago, and we met through gigs. Actually, he was doing the sound for a couple of gigs of mine, and he worked with a close friend, a mutual friend, Keito from White Noise Audio, and he still does AV over in Australia. He's been telling me, and he's a fitness instructor, a health instructor at the moment, and he's absolutely in phenomenal shape. And yeah, we just got chatting a couple of weeks ago, and just by accident, I think it was, man. We just started chatting, and then it just felt so natural. I was like, here, come on the show. Let's have a chat in front of everybody else. So please give a big warm welcome to our first guest, Martin Fortune. Give him some love hearts there in the chat, guys. Don't be shy. Say hello. I'm going to get him on now. From Oz, yeah. Hello, hello.
Hey, bro.
What is the story, man? How are you keeping?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. What about yourself?
You know what? Not too bad, man. You know, it's taking each day as it comes. I'm sure, like everybody else. But it's what can it gets like one day just seeps into another, doesn't it? Really. How are you keeping with this whole quarantine thing?
I'm getting by, man. I am doing loads. I'm working on myself, working on my own projects, training, yourself.
Hmm.
Just keep it busy. Playing Final Fantasy VII, the new one. It is absolutely
Is it?
fantastic, mate.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, yeah. Because I never got into the Final Fantasies as much. I watch people play it more so. I could never play it. I'd never got into playing it myself. But geez, I wanted. There's so many things we could talk about, man. But can I ask you one thing actually? Because I
Yeah.
introduced you as a personal trainer and things like that. How has that been? For you, like during this whole lockdown thing, like are you still able to kind of work and stuff like that and keep busy with that kind of stuff?
So what we started doing is myself and my girlfriend have went online, so everything's been online. And what we started getting into was health coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So the main thing what we do is we advise people on what they should do, the best products they should take for their health and fitness goals. We do different calls. We give them training programs and stuff over online. So
Mm-hmm.
people can buy this stuff on fortunefitness888.com, which is our website.
Mm-hmm.
But the main thing what we're trying to do is just spread it through the online platform at the moment. Because as you know, everything's gone. You can't meet up with people. You can't do face-to-face training anymore. So,
Mm.
and even gyms have closed down. So what we've been doing is working out at-home workouts. I've posted a few online and stuff like that for if anybody ever wants to check it out.
Mm.
But yeah, basically the fitness industry is dead unless you're doing it online right now,
What got you
unfortunately.
into? Because I knew you before. I think you got into fitness, right? Um,
Yeah.
we were drinking, we were smoking, and you gave it up before me. Like you gave up the ciggies. I
Yeah.
remember when you got on the vape and you're doing the check in gigs upstairs with me, and you got this deadly vape, this monster, and I was like, oh Jesus, he's self improving. Like he's making himself, he's fixing himself up there. It's great, and I admired that. But what was that
Yeah.
sort of trigger that made you go into sort of health buzz? Was there a moment, a
I
single
suppose.
moment?
Yeah, so when you first met me, I just broke up with my ex-girlfriend at the time, right? And she went around on her own thing and stuff like that, started hanging around with all my old friends, and she was drinking, having fun, and they kept coming back and telling me, "Oh, your girl ex is doing this, and this." I was like, I don't really care about that. So I just went on the other way. I went, I'm gonna get healthy, I'm gonna get fit, and then I started loving it. And as I was doing, I was running, I was started boxing, I started bodybuilding in
Mm,
between all that. And I just started loving it, mate. I started eating clean, I started feeling better, I started working better towards my goals, which I just loved. And
mm.
that was pretty much it. It was just one little thing sparked it all off. It was just a complete change. I was a new person and wanted to do something new, you know?
You transmuted something negative into a positive, which like I've had musicians on this obviously. So you're the first like non-musician, which is awesome. That's what I want. I want people like yourself that can inspire others and things like that on the show. Like some musicians have said, they've gone through breakups or they've gone through bad times, and the cure for them was to write a song and let it out emotionally. But for you, not being the musician, you were able to actually let it out through self improvement and self empowerment, right?
Yeah, but it was funny because that's what I used to do. Because I used to be a musician. I used to be in bands. I used to play all the time. And I'd say about
Mm.
15, 16. I played in the Thomas House at one
I
stage.
never knew you as
You
a
know?
musician, I
Yeah.
don't think, right?
No, you never knew me back then. So back
Mm.
then, I've been a guitarist since I've been 11 years of age. So I've always played guitar. I've always been in muso, but
Mm.
my main focus was always the technology side of it.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
always wanted to get into AV, audio, visual, and do sound for bands, which is how you met me,
Mm-hmm.
through Key. And
Mm.
that was always my goal to do that and to be an aspiring sound engineer,
Mm.
working on bands, working, and actually live sound scared the shit out of me. I never wanted to do live sound.
It's scary,
That
man.
was
Yeah.
the, yeah, I never wanted to do it. I never
One
wanted to be in that
mistake.
position. I always wanted to be in the recording studio. That's all I ever wanted to do. And funny enough, live sound just took to me, and I loved it. Live sound was the
Mm.
best thing I've ever done.
Have you done
When I was in
studio
band.
sound since then?
No, I've never. I've only ever been like an intern, or I've
Mm.
done little bits here and there with other people. I've never exactly done like in a recording studio myself,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Awesome. Awesome. Brew's asking what time is it over there? So what time are we looking at? 10 p.m. is it?
So it's quarter to 11 right now,
Quarter to
PM.
11. That's
Yeah.
crazy, man. By the way, yeah, so we have 13 people. It's fluctuating from 13 to 20 viewers. So guys, if you want to ask any questions for Marty as well, you're more than welcome to. We might fit one in there because I have a few things that I'd love to
Yeah.
chat about as well. But yeah, you're 3 years. I thought for some reason I thought you were longer in Australia. And what made you sort of go over there as well? Because you already had like sort of you were already in pretty good shape, right? Just before you went to Australia, right? You were
Yeah.
hardcore. So what kind of made you go over there? And then we can talk about your fitness stuff over there as well.
So it was a
Mm.
funny story, right? So I was living with my mate Kev back in Ireland, and what we were doing was we were just partying, we were just drinking all the time and having fun, and we were
Mm.
like, we should go to Australia. And obviously it was one of these thoughts. It was like never thought it was going to happen. Nobody, we just had a thought. We just had an idea. It was like this is
Mm.
never going to happen. Then I moved back in with my mom, and we are just chilling. He went, right, I booked Australia. Now it's your turn. I was like, what? There's no preparation, nothing, absolutely no preparation. So it's like, okay, I got to do it. So I booked it, and then I was like, okay, I've no money, I've nothing. How am I going to get over here? What have I got to do? I've spent all my money on that. And then I just, near the end, I quit my job, sold my car, sold everything I could possibly that gave me any value, got a bit of money
Mm.
up, and just left. That was it. And never looked back.
That's amazing. You sold that post van, right? That you bought off Keith initially.
No, I crashed that.
Did you? Oh man, I love that little
I
thing.
It was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. But I crashed that on the way home from Galway.
Jesus. We
I
got
know.
rear-ended in that. Keith got rear-ended, and this was in Blanche, and we had loads of
Yeah.
equipment in the thing. And there's no like block or anything. Like it's just two seats,
Yeah.
and then you've got like your equipment right behind you. And the things like just literally like when somebody hit into us, the things flew forward. And
Yeah.
luckily, I don't know, it wasn't that bad of a bang. But yeah, I remember that little banger. It was great, really good for transport and stuff. Um,
It was.
what's okay, so that's great. Like, okay, fair enough. Like, not everybody is able, and I love that mentality where you can just kind of pick up and go. Just that freedom
Yeah.
of what's like the biggest challenge when you went to Australia? Like, once you're there, and was there
So
something that stood out for you?
yeah, definitely. So for the first month I was in Australia, I met up with my friend and I stayed on his floor for 2 weeks. So we had a place to stay for 2 weeks, and then we were gone and we had to find our own way. So I
Mm,
had to, in that space of time, within the first week, I got a job in the AV field.
mm-hmm,
And then when I got that job and everything, he was partying for a whole month, so he had no money at all.
mm-hmm,
All his money was gone. He had no job, nothing. So me and him were like, okay, what the hell do we do? So we were just waiting for my first paycheck. When that came in, we paid for a rent for a month, got that all sorted, and both of us were literally sleeping in a wet towel because we couldn't afford to buy blankets, couldn't afford anything, and we had one
jeez,
towel each. Living on beans as well for the whole week, beans and and rice. It was crazy. It was a good
Wow.
experience though.
Uh,
Great character building.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and you are young as well, right? So I mean, like in your twenties, it's kind of something
Yeah,
you can sort of endure mentally, right? You just be like, well, I'm
yeah,
in my twenties, I'm young enough. There's no expectation to have to live up to. And of course, yeah, it's a new experience for you guys, right? Or for yourself and your friend.
yeah.
And what's like what got you out of that? What kind of move? Where was the upgrade sort of moment for you when you were over there?
Well, when he had no money, he had got a job. He managed to get a job a week after we moved into the
Hmm.
place. And when he got his job, because I paid for everything, we were living off his wages week by week because he was getting
Hmm.
paid weekly. I was monthly, so we were waiting for me to get paid again. Then
Hmm.
when we got that, after 3 months, I got my first card and just start building up from there. You know,
Hmm.
start saving, get myself together, and then we just started moving from place to place, and we've finally settled in an area for about think we stayed there for about a year,
Hmm.
and now I'm living with my girlfriend. You know,
Amazing,
so
amazing.
it's been a yeah crazy story.
It is, and I love that though. It's great. Like, you need more people that sort of take that. It's like a leap of faith, isn't it? Like you and
Yeah,
whatever. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, you know what I mean? You come back home, if anything. You know what I mean? Not that you will.
exactly.
Not regarding you, but if anybody out there is thinking about it. And which part in Australia are you now?
I live in Sydney at the moment,
You're in
so I
Sydney.
live out Sydney West at the minute. Yeah,
And Brew's
it's
asking,
a
yeah, what's the music scene there like? Is it
so the music
existent?
scene is it's it's pretty much non-existent anymore. So before I got here, there was an area where it used to be live events all the time, but the government brought in these lockout laws.
Hmm.
And what happened with these lockout laws was people weren't allowed into a venue after I think it was 12 o'clock. Once that started happening, the whole music scene, everything died, and there was so many restrictions put in that
Hmm.
venues just couldn't afford to stay open because people weren't going out to these venues anymore because normally people went pre-drinking and then went out, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Live music stopped after a certain time as well, which is
Wow.
crazy.
And
Yes,
it's a lot more outdoors, right? Because it's the weather's phenomenal, I guess, every day of the year, right? Like, is that's true, right? I think from what I see.
see, people always think that, right? When an
Yeah,
Irish person goes to Sydney, they only ever post the good weather. That's all they ever do, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
you'll notice during your summertime, you'll never see anybody post any pictures of Australia because
Fair.
during the winter over here, it's raining.
Oh, okay, okay. So it's not
Yeah,
perfect. Okay, grand. Well, okay.
I'd say for about I'd say for about 9 months of the year, it's really
Yeah,
nice, and then you have 3 months of just poor weather. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's not too bad. I could still
Um,
live with that. And so you'd have like outdoor parties and DJs and stuff like that on the beach and whatnot.
yeah. So we do a lot of outdoor events. One of there does be huge events that do happen outdoors, and as I said, like outdoor DJs, outdoor bands, stuff like that. If it's going to happen, they just set it up in a park, and then away you go.
Hmm.
But these are only ever huge events. There's never any small events or anything like that.
Hmm.
So getting in as a sound engineer for bands and music is quite difficult over here. But whereas
Yeah.
if you were to get in, you need to really get into the big time or know somebody to actually get in for working with bands. Like I work conferences, that's my goal now at the moment. So
Hmm.
like at the moment, I'm actually doing Zoom calls, webinars, and live events at the minute. You
Hmm.
know, that's
Great. And
my bread and butter.
do you? So how long are you working for? It's for a company or is it for yourself that you're doing the AV stuff for?
Yeah, so it's for a company.
Hmm.
I work for a company called Prime Audio Visual at the minute.
Oh, cool.
And they're a great company, great set of lads. Everyone has their own quirkiness to them, you know. They're
Mm.
really good group of lads. But actually, David, I have a question for you. How do you know my cousin Dale?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. So I know Dell through my mom, actually, funny enough. So they
Yeah.
know each other by I'm not sure how they know each other. Maybe Dell can answer that part. But yeah, she mentioned Dell, and she said Dell's in the music industry. He'd be a great contact to know. He's an absolutely awesome dude. And we met up, and I shared a little bit of kind of what I did to Dell, what I do in music to Dell, and Dell vice versa. And we were kind of working on some potential projects together. He hooked me up with some cool clients and things like that. And then this virus hit, and then we couldn't obviously do anything. But yeah, that's basically it through my mom, which is it's crazy. And then I don't know what was the moment where I knew I was like how I connected you both. I've no idea. I can't remember now. Was it
Was it
did I ask
surname?
you? Yeah, did I ask you or did I ask Dell? And I was like, are you linked with Marty? Are you? Or did I ask you? I can't remember who I asked. I don't know if I asked
Yeah,
you. Maybe I might have
I
did
think it was,
ask you. Was it?
maybe you did. I can't remember
Yeah,
that conversation, but
yeah.
it's funny. It was probably the second name that gave it away, Fortune.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no. And then you were saying you were on Facebook as friends. So I was like, okay, that's kind of like because some people might share
Yeah,
this last name, and it's like, yeah, the odds, that they're related is you never,
yeah.
especially in Ireland, where so many people have a similar last name. I was like, I don't want to jump to the conclusion. Then I was like, I had to. I was like, wait a minute, getting to know this guy, and just because these are both so fucking bang on, these are just such nice
Yeah.
people. And I was like, okay, can I link them both together? And that explains it's in their genetics that they're just bang on. So yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, yeah.
It's
So,
a
mm.
yeah, it's a shame though. I got the good looking genes. He didn't.
Well, that's it. Yeah, yeah. You got to work with what you got, isn't it? Uh, but that's my. So tell me like a little bit about the So the AV. So you're doing more like okay. So are you going from house to house now, setting up AV stuff? Or are you doing like from your house? You're setting up. You're the mediator between these conversations or calls.
So what we've done in our warehouse at the minute, what we've set up is a green room. So we actually have a TV behind, which is just has a green screen behind it. What
Mm,
we do is we get people in, we get the MC in. So the main MC will come in, we'll talk about whatever they're going to talk about, but behind we'll put something like Sydney CBD or whatever in the background for them.
mm-hmm.
And I'll operate from a control room, which is right beside because of the coronavirus. We don't want to come in contact with new people that come in. So we literally have a room separating both of us, but
Mm.
they come into our office and we light them up and we mic them up and do all that stuff. So it's
Okay.
pretty cool the way it works,
You
you
still
know?
have to go physically to the. They're still kind of meeting up. It's not so strict. I mean, it's strict to an extent, but it's not lockdown over there, right?
It's not full lockdown, but
Mm.
there is a lot implemented at the moment. So you're
Mm.
not allowed to meet up with people. You're not allowed to go into unless it's an essential service. You're not allowed to do it
Mm.
basically. And people need to do events. People need to do stuff over the internet. Like everybody needs to do AV. So
Mm.
it is we are considered an essential service, but we
Yeah.
can't do live events. We can't have gatherings of over. I think now at the moment it's over 5 people. So
Wow.
it's gotten really strict. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's the same as here, I think. Yeah, you can't have like
yeah,
yeah, groups of five unless I guess you live together. I suppose they can't really, but there's not many people that live in families bigger than five, right? So that's kind of your limit.
yeah.
What's what's because New Zealand got rid of the virus apparently. That's what they're saying. So that's your neighbors, isn't it? That's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. I don't know how true that is.
So what's called Dell's brother actually lives over in New Zealand.
Mhm.
Chris is his name, and they're hoping to open up the borders for Australia and New Zealand
Mhm.
very very soon because the virus is nearly eradicated out there, as you said.
Mhm.
But Australia's doing very well at the moment. They've gotten it down. I can't remember the figures right now, but the last time I checked it, there was only 1,000 cases. So it's gone right down. So with such a big country, the fact that they've managed to do that is pretty
Yeah.
good. So we're hoping that they will open up everything very, very soon,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. That's amazing. Because you were saying when we spoke briefly that, anyway, besides all this corona stuff, which is great that it's improving over there, that you have to go
Yeah.
to New Zealand first, right? Or that's an ideal way to kind of get into Australia if you want to live there long term. Is there any kind of advice you have for people that might want to go to Australia and set up a life, or at least try to, for a year or whatever?
Yeah. So if you're on a skill, if you are a skilled worker for a tradie, have a degree, or a master's or anything like that, you should be fine coming over to Australia and being able to work. But if
Mm,
you're someone that doesn't, someone that's in the music industry or someone that's just working for themselves and it's not considered a very, very important skill, you won't be able to stay here long term unless you get married. Well, not even get married. If you have a girlfriend applied de facto, that's probably the only way you're going to stay. So what you can do is actually go over to New Zealand, which on a working holiday visa. If you go over there, you're able to get your permanent residency so much easier than over in Australia. So if you live there for a certain amount of time, or if you get sponsored, within 2 years you could have your. I think it's 2 years now. Don't quote me on that, but
Hmm.
you'd be able to get your permanent residency and then come straight over to Australia because if you're a permanent resident in New Zealand, you're also a permanent resident in Australia.
That's so quick, and New Zealand
Yeah,
seems so chillax about it.
yeah. Whereas Australia over here, I'm over here 3 years and I'm still not a permanent resident.
Mm.
So I'm able to apply in September, and I'm going to apply then, and hopefully by my 4 year mark, I'll have permanent residency and be able to do whatever I want.
And
That's the goal.
you don't want to come back to Ireland. Would you visit?
So actually, I have plans. Hopefully, me, my girlfriend, and my daughter, we're really hoping to come over to Ireland maybe next year after the coronavirus and everything is settled.
Hmm.
We're trying to plan something maybe Christmas or just after Christmas. Try to link it up with times because
Hmm.
AV is going to start booming now. Events are going to be massive
Yeah.
over the next while when everything opens back up. So
Hmm.
we're hoping to kind of pick our time when I'm not going to be busy with work because the hours are going to be crazy once this all settles.
That's
You
great,
know?
man. That's great. No, I'm absolutely delighted for you that you're keeping well over there as well, man, and that you've got a missus, and that's her daughter, is it? Or that's
Yeah,
and that yeah, amazing. And what age is she? The daughter, I mean.
14.
14, amazing. Ah, that's great,
Yeah.
man. That's absolutely lovely. What do you miss? What do you miss? Do you miss anything about Ireland? You can say no. It's okay.
Actually, funny. The biggest things I miss about Ireland, I have to say, is probably the music business. My old friends, of my family, obviously. I obviously miss
Mm,
all of that. But the music industry is probably one of the biggest things I miss. I miss doing gigs in Chennai, meeting up with just like, because me and Brew, we're going to set up a record label with Paul Archibald as well and the Ticket Steve's crew. So we were going to set up a recording label called Life Cycle Records.
mm-hmm,
And I miss doing all that. I miss getting involved. I miss being a part of the actual music scene and doing weird gigs here and there, like
mm,
the rockabilly concert that me and Keith did at one stage.
mm,
You know,
yeah. And what's because that's all like it's about the people, right? In this regard as well. It's like what are the people like over in Australia like as kind of a general. I know you can maybe generalizing, but to connect with and things like that. How's that? How are you finding that?
um, I got to make sure not to say the wrong thing here. But right, so I find the Australians are much easier to get along with and better than meeting up with the Irish crew over here. So
Hmm.
I've met a lot of Irish people over here, and a lot of them are just drinking and complaining about a lot of things. The
Hmm.
same stuff I got away from back at home. But over here, the Australians, I integrate with them better than I have, and it's just, I honestly, I love the Australian people. They're great.
Mm.
You know.
And how much did they pay you to say that?
A lot.
Is your missus holding up a knife to you there? Uh,
No, her daughter's watching me, pointing at me.
all right. There's two of them now. Is it against you? All right, fair enough, fair enough. Well, this dude, I could chat to you for I'm we could chat for hours. I think
Yeah,
honestly. What's
definitely not.
I just don't know where to focus on because I mean it's we've got a lovely healthy amount of viewers actually. So if anybody also wants to know anything, because dude, you're a man of many sort of hats and sort of and talents and things like that. So there's so many things we can delve into, conversation topics and stuff like that. So guys at home anyway, you've got an idea kind of where what Marty's about. So if there's any questions you have, um I'd like to actually ask you as well, so we can go back onto like fitness and things like that. And I won't keep you for too much longer. I've got Darren Conway as well at 2:15, so I don't want to. And you guys are connected somehow, right? As well, you and Darren Conway.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think I've done a couple of gigs from ages ago. I think I've done it. because if I remember correctly, he used to do gigs possibly on a Thursday night as well.
Hmm.
But I just know because everyone that I've connected with doing gigs and stuff like that, I've always added them on Facebook and stuff like that,
Mm,
and we've always connected through that. But um, yeah, it's been a long time. I can't remember, but I
mm,
remember talking to you about it, and I was like, "Oh, Darren, I know him."
mm. It's mad. It's just
you
so
know?
it's so. I love how Ireland is so nicely connected,
Yeah.
and it's so like. Did we talk about this with you? We talked about this before. This might be an interesting thing. Is that it's a fantastic place. How did you phrase it, man? You know, when I was talking about um, self development in Ireland, or growing your business, or growing yourself as a person, and then
Yeah.
and then not necessarily having to move away or anything, but the potential then of moving further onwards to bigger and better things that might not be in, Ireland might not have the capacity for. Didn't we talk a little bit about that? Is there something you could add
That's
to that?
right. The one thing I found about Ireland is it's so small and everybody knows each other. You get into any industry, you'll know everybody in that industry, especially the music industry. And one thing I found was if you are high in the music industry, you are going to stay high in the music industry. You're only going to work with the best in the music industry. Whereas if you're at the bottom, you're only starting or you're trying to overcome it. It's easy to get into a job. It's easy to work around. And if you put your name out there, it's easy to follow around. But the problem is the progression is not quite there. So there's no way of reaching from that bottom to middle to above unless you really work as hard as possible at it.
Mm,
And it's as well as if you have to know somebody. So you have to go up to John, who's your friend, and say, John, is there any openings? And then wait 2, maybe 3 years before that possible opening will even show. So you're literally just waiting for other people to leave their position, which is the
mm,
unfortunate thing about the music industry over there. And that's just
mm,
coming from a sound engineer's perspective. That's just the way it is as a sound engineer.
mm,
Now, it's quite similar with bands. I know a lot of bands that are struggling to even move forward because venues are taking advantage, not paying as much as they should, and stuff like that as well.
mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely a different sort of mentality in Ireland with regard to paying musicians, which is
Yeah,
it's a huge issue, and musicians don't feel like they're not treated as employed people, which is an
yeah,
absolute shame. So hopefully that'll change. There are some kind of schemes and things like that I'm not sure about the legitimacy and things, but
yeah,
it'd be interesting to see as well. Of course, when you're mentioning like the higher up, like there's not really any like huge amount of record labels and things like that here, or I don't know. A lot of people have been duped in the past from all these labels, and how to sort of how to navigate this difficult industry. I suppose it's really
yeah.
really hard to do that. Um, yeah. So what's can you tell? Because we only have a few more minutes actually. So I guess I have a load of more questions for you, man.
I know.
um, is there let me see. Is there like a big misconception about people think about Australia or Australian people that you'd like to sort of clear up before we let you go, if there is one?
What misconceptions? Oh yeah, one of the biggest ones I've heard since I've come over here is Aussies aren't hard workers, right?
Hmm.
I've heard this all the time from Irish people saying Aussies are not hard workers, right? The Aussies that I work with in the AV business are the hardest working people I've ever met in my entire life.
Mm,
80, 90 hour weeks they will do, and they will do it without complaining. They'll do the week and then they'll come into another 80, 90 hour week and still have a smile on their face and don't care. And
mm,
they're workhorses, man. That's the biggest misconception,
Well,
I
there you go,
reckon.
guys. That's it. There's the biggest misconception. So check your facts before you start judging nations, I guess, isn't it? It's so easy to generalize, though, isn't it? Like to kind of put labels on countries and things like that. Um,
Yeah.
so you're also in. You also. I just want to give you a couple of plugs as well, because you're a fitness trainer. You're an AV, and you're also part of Herbalife. Can you talk a little bit about Herbalife before I let you go?
Yeah.
Because it sounds
So
amazing.
what I've done is I'm with a company called Pacific Rim, and we what we do is we look after 40 countries around the world, but we've partnered with Herbalife. So we've become distributors of Herbalife because we found a product that works.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fantastic product, and I even use it myself. So everybody has met distributors who sell it. Everybody has met all of these people promising the world to them. And it's look, the problem is not Herbalife. The problem is the people that are selling it are unethical. They're talking and they're giving people false hope about it.
Mm-hmm.
They're telling people that they'll lose weight and in they'll lose like 20 kilos in 4 weeks or anything like that. The
Mm-hmm.
With Herbalife, it's an amazing product for increasing immunity. It's great products for boosting energy as well. Like day to day life, it's really, really good. And what I found with working with it, the people that I work with, and all my mentors out there, they've been phenomenal, great team effort, and everybody just wants everybody to build, and it's working like a family.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really, really good thing to get involved with. If you know anybody who wants to get involved with it, say I do it because a lot of these people just want to help you
Mm-hmm.
and just go for it is really what I want to say.
Awesome, awesome. And what's like the most underrated sort of supplement in the fitness industry? Is there one?
To be honest, I'll be honest with supplements, with everything. If you only need supplements if you're not eating a very balanced diet, right? If you're not eating a balanced diet, then you need supplements, something to supplement what you're missing, and that's the main thing about it. Whereas if you get a good multivitamin, for example, it can be really good for the body. Vitamin D, especially in Ireland, because people don't get much vitamin D, but they need
Mm.
calcium as well to help that absorb. So there's some great vitamins out there in Ireland, and they're laughing at me now because I'm saying vitamin and not vitamin, my missus. but, but yeah, definitely with vitamins, you do not need them unless you are lacking something in your diet or you want to build or lose weight. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to lose weight, eat less or get meal replacement shakes, which
Mm-hmm.
Herbalife do, which are phenomenal. But other than that, you do not need something unless if you're eating a balanced diet.
Cool, awesome, good
Yeah.
advice, man. A lot of people would agree with you on that in that industry. And what's. All right, so I'll leave you with one more question, man. Okay, I'm not gonna bother you much more. I'll
I love
bother.
this, mate.
Do you like it? It's grand. I'm enjoying it. I think it's fantastic. We can do this, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'll get you.
definitely.
I'll get you back on one of the days. Um.
Yeah,
So last question. What advice can you give people, coming from yourself as well, from your own experience, like someone that wants to really change their whole life? Let's say they're in the gutter, they had bad stuff happen to them, blah blah blah, from whatever reason. What's kind of, is there anything you can kind of advise those kind of people that want to sort of change their lifestyle?
yeah. That's actually a brilliant one because where I grew up, I actually grew up in Cordup in Blanchardstown. So I grew up
Mm,
in a very rough area, stuff like that. And right, I had a good family, lucky enough, but I started from the bottom. I was always involved with bad people, stuff like that. That
mm-hmm,
was always my upbringing. And then for years, just kind of wasted it away, no money, nothing like that. I was struggling. But the main bit of advice I would give anybody who wants to do anything and is stuck in a rut in them bad positions is go somewhere else. Just move. Just do something else. Get out of the environment. The hardest part about you're always you're always what's the word I'm looking for? A creature of your environment.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So people around you are always going to influence who you are. So if you are struggling, if you feel like you're in a bad position, you feel like you're in the gut and want to change, you need to make that change and move somewhere that's not around that negativity.
mm.
And that's the biggest advice I can give anyone.
Awesome. That's great, man. That's absolutely great advice. Marty Fortune, man, listen, it's an absolute pleasure to chat to you. So how can people find, sort of, like, if they want to chat to you online or sort of get some personal training tips, or just be your mate? What's the where do they have to go to find you?
So, well, I have two websites. So you can look at Fortune Fitness Herbalife on Facebook, or you can look at Fortune Fitness powered by ECPT. ECPT is actually my girlfriend. That's her Elise Croft's personal training. And you can also look at our website, fortunefitness888.com. and you'll find all of our contact details, email, everything, and just chat to us on Facebook. Always want a conversation with new people.
I love that, man, and I love the fact that you're so open and easygoing as well. That's absolutely awesome, man. And I'm sure people watching as well feel comfy to sort of approach it and to check your stuff out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put those links at the bottom of the description on the YouTube uh, re-release video when I finish up here. Listen, man, have a great evening, man. Have a great night. Have a good sleep because it's already like 11 there, right? And I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to just chatting to you again soon, and after this, one day to visit you and just see what's going on over there, man. It's been an absolute pleasure, brother. Thanks for coming on to the show, man.
You too, David, man. Absolute pleasure. Love you, bro. And hopefully we can link up very soon. Take care of yourself.
Absolutely deadly, man. Talk to you soon, brother. See you later. Bye bye.